Alright, this is support for college algebra 5.1. So they want me to factor. So y'all, the first thing I'm doing on this, since it's a two-term binomial, I'm looking for a greatest common factor. So, let's see, 4 and 2. A 2 will go into both of those, so I can factor out a 2 as my greatest common factor. Now I got a t squared and a t, so both of those have at least one t. So, my greatest common factor is going to be a 2t. And then remember, I put my parentheses. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to take that 4t squared plus 2t and divide both of them by 2t. Alright, so 4 divided by 2 makes that a 2. T squared over t1 leaves me 1t. Plus over here, the 2's cancel and the t's cancel. So 2t divided by 2t just becomes a big 1. So I'll put my 1. Now that goes inside the parentheses. So I get a 2t plus 1. So we are done because there's nothing else I can do to that. And the 2t and the 1 have no other numbers in common other than a 1. Alright, so the second one is another binomial being added. So really the only thing I can do to that is factor out a greatest common factor. So I got 4 t's here and 3 t's here. So they both have at least a t to the third in them. Okay, so remember, we're going to come down here, write a t to the third, and then put parentheses. Notice I didn't get a number because there wasn't a number here. Okay, so now let's see what we get. We take the t4 plus 5t3 and divide both them by t3. Alright, t4 divided by t3 leaves me a t1 plus the 5 comes down and then the t3 and t3 cancel. So all that's left is a t plus 5 and that goes in my parentheses and we're done. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got a trinomial. First of all, notice there's not a greatest common factor because I got r's here and only numbers here. And then this one don't even have numbers. So there's no greatest common factor. So it's a trinomial, so I'm going to try to factor it into 2 sets of parentheses. So in the beginning, the only way to get an r squared is there to be an r and an r. Remember, since that last number is positive, both of these factors will have the same sign as the middle, so they're both going to be positive. Now, since that's positive, I'm going to find factors of 30 that'll add to give me 11. Those numbers would be 5 and 6. They multiply to get 30, but they add to get that 11. And since they're both positive, I can just put them in whatever order I want. And then we are done. Alright, let's see. Here's another trinomial. It has no GCF here, right? Nothing in common. So if it factors, I'm going to try to factor it into 2 sets of parentheses. In the beginning of both of these, the only way to get a w squared is with a w and a w. Once again, that's positive, so both of these will have the same sign as that middle number, so they're both going to be negative. Remember, positive always means like signs. Now, can we find factors of 32 to add and give me 12? Alright, so that would be, what, 4 and 8. They add to get 12, so I'm going to put them in here as a 4 and an 8. Now notice this, I already took care of my signs, so look here, a negative 4 and a negative 8, add to get negative 12. Negative 4 times negative 8, multiply to get a positive 32. Alright, let's see what we got here. You'll notice this was a short section, okay? Alright, get my focus back in. Alright, so here we go. Factor. Once again, it's a trinomial. I have no greatest common factor, so I'm going to try to factor it. But if you notice, these are out of order here. So before I try to factor it, I'm going to put it in order. There's my a squared. My negative 2a goes next. Then my negative 48. Got to be in order when you factor. Now, there was no GCF still, so I'm going to go into my parentheses. Alright, the only way to get an a squared is a times an a. Now, since this is a negative 48 at the end, that means I'm going to have unlike signs. And now the trick is, find me factors of this 48 that subtract and get me a 2. Factors of 48 that subtract to get 2 would be 8 and 6. Now remember, the larger factor 8 has the same sign as that middle number. So since the middle number is negative, the 8 will be negative and the 6 will be positive. Now check this out. 6 and negative 8 equal negative 2. Positive 6 times negative 8 multiply to get negative 48. Alright, this next one. First thing I'm looking for is the greatest common factor. Ooh, and guess what? 3, 30, and 75 all have a greatest common factor because they will all divide by that 3 in the front. So what I'm going to do is factor out that greatest common factor and put big parentheses. Because in these parentheses, I'm going to take 3y squared minus 30y plus 75 and divide all 3 of them by that 3. So we divide by the GCF and see what's left. Well, here the 3's cancel, so you get a y squared minus 30 divided by 3 gives me a 10, bring down the y. So next will be a negative 10y plus 75 divided by 3 is 25. So at the end is a positive 25. Now, we got to keep bringing that 3 down because we factored it out as a GCF. What we're going to do now is factor the trinomial. So the trinomial has no more GCFs in here, so we're going to factor it into 2 parentheses like we've been doing. In the front of both these parentheses, the way to get a y squared would be a y and a y. Now, since that 25 right there is positive, that means both of these factors will have the same sign as that middle number. The middle number is negative, so both of these will be negative. Once again, last one's positive. You got like signs, and they're both like the middle. Alright, so now to finish this out, I need factors of that 25 that'll add and get me 10. And the factors of 25 that'll add and get 10 are 5 and 5. So I'll put in my 2 5s and I'm done. Now you can always check these by foiling this and then taking that answer and distributing that 3 back to, okay? Alright, last question. Trinomial. There's no GCF in this one because you got V's here and just a number here. So there's no GCF means it's going to factor into 2 parentheses. Notice the way to get a V squared would be a V and a V. That 40 is negative. Since it's negative, my factors will have unlike signs. Remember, the only way to get a negative when multiplying is a positive times a negative. Now, I need factors of 40 that'll subtract and give me 3. So let's see, what multiplies to make a 40 and will subtract to get 3 would be 8 and 5. Now remember, 8's the bigger number. When you got 8, you look at what that middle is, it's a positive 3. So since the middle number is positive, the larger number is going to be positive, and the smaller number 5 will be negative. Once again, 8 negative 5 equal 3. 8 times negative 5 equal negative 40. Alright, and we are done.